Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Live Life with Sean. I'm your host, Sean Higgins. I'm a lifelong information security technology expert with a passion for speaking, coaching, and writing. In this podcast, I'm going to talk about what's going on in my life. And I hope that by me talking about what's going on in my life, it will help you with whatever you're going through. And if you enjoy this content, please share it, subscribe to it, like it, and or leave a comment. This will help others find this podcast. I thank you for joining me. And tonight, I've told you about a program that I'm working on developing, which will be in July, being a 21st century man. And I was talking about this to one of my coaches, and she was asking me about the men that I follow. And I had to sit back and say, I'm not really certain there are men that I follow specifically. I mean, there are probably men in the things that I read and things that I see, but I don't know if there's, specific men that I say, okay, I got to follow this person. So she challenged me. She wanted me to find 10 men to follow. And I've got more than 10 right now. And she asked me to do it on Twitter. Twitter is a platform that I enjoy. I've recently gone into Twitter, and I used to follow hundreds of people, actually thousands of people, and it was just noise to me. But I went in and pared it back down, and now I'm starting to poke around and look around, and so I'm working on finding 10 men to follow, 10 men that will inspire me, push me, get me to question. I'm going to just kind of talk about some of those men that I've found thus far. And, if you want to add some to me, let me know. Let me know who you think I should be following after. And, these aren't the only men that I follow, but these are the ones that I'm putting on my 10 men to follow list. So, first one, and the guy I really enjoy today is Dan Price. He's a CEO, and one of these days I'll look up the company he runs. But what he did is he went in and said, okay, everybody makes 70K. That's the bare minimum. Everyone makes 70K. I make 70K as a CEO. He's been criticized for it, but his company is growing. I mean, they're probably not growing as fast as some other companies, but it's a very healthy, vibrant company. And he's constantly posting about the difference between the rich and the poor. Not having a minimum wage, not having a livable minimum wage, how much richer the rich are getting, especially even during the pandemic. And I really enjoy his comments. So he's one of the guys I really follow, and he's probably the number one on my top 10 list. Second guy on that list, I don't know this man's name, is the name that shows up in Twitter is Brooklyn Dad _Defiant. And the tag he puts in his info is Proud Papa, perpetually pissed. I have no idea how I connected with him. He can be a bit brash, and I enjoy his comments because he's in a similar vein as Dan Price, pointing out, but he's more political, I find. Pointing out the issues with the Republicans and what they're doing and things that they're doing. And some of the things I will retweet what he does, but some of them I don't because I don't know the full backstory or know some of the people he's talking about. I haven't followed politics as well as I probably should, but I'm learning. And, I just, how poignant and direct his comments are. I really like his comments. Okay, so not all of them, because some of them go a little bit off the deep end, but it's good. Another gentleman is Nick Hanauer, and I talked about him in episode 22, A New Approach to Economics, where he broke down the myth of trickle-down economics. I mean, he admits that he's made his money on the the effect that was happened because of trickle down economics. He just followed the market, made a ton of money, and now he's using his money to influence and change policies and treat and to educate people. So I'm following him, and he's again another one where he's pointing out some of the loopholes that the rich get. Another person that I'm following is Dan Rather. Dan Rather is a former news anchor when news was news. And I say that because for me, when I was growing up, the news stations basically reported the news. They made sure they got verified sources. There wasn't a lot of I'm on the left, I'm on the right. It was just news. They tried to package it, tried to tell us what's going on, and leave it for us to figure out whether we were to move forward with it or not. He's an older gentleman, so he's learning to work in the digital age. And I'm appreciating some of his comments. He started a blog that I just started to follow. It's steady.substack.com. And the blog that kind of got me pulled into follow him was talking about the big lie. The big lie that Donald Trump has been telling us for months, which included, that he won the election. And yeah, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but yeah. But Dan Rather comes from that news anchor when you just told the news. You verified it from a few sources, and you went from there. The final person, let's see, 1, 2, 3, the fourth person that's on my top 10 that's going to stay is Bernie Sanders. And it was interesting. I'm going to talk through the next group here is people I'm considering. And then there was a group of people. Well, there's only one person on right now who I was like, I can't just follow. I can't follow him because of whatever. And Bernie Sanders was originally on that I can't follow him list, because he can be a bit too left wing for me. Okay. Just his ideals are just a bit too much for me. But as I thought about it, it got me to think that maybe I need people like Bernie Sanders on this list to just get me to question, to just say, what if he's right? I'm not saying he is right or not saying he's wrong, but if he thinks that, maybe I should consider it a little bit more. Bernie's interesting. He's a U.S. Senator from Vermont, but he's basically an independent, which is interesting because he has twice tried to become the Democratic candidate for president and failed, finishing second both times, once to Hillary Clinton and once to I can't even think of the current president, not to the current president. So, so I put him on my list because, maybe I need some of that left wing thought to just kind of say, okay, maybe I need to consider it. And, having said that, maybe I need to find somebody who's too far right wing. I guess if I could find somebody, male, that does not buy into the big lie. I think that's the problem right now that I have with the so-called right wing is that many of them are aligned with Trump, and just can't take the bullying that Trump brings forward. I'm sorry. I've got a bunch of people who I'm considering. So first on this list is Simon Sinek. I talked about him in episode 25 with his book called Business in Infinite Game, where and I really liked his approach in that book where he talked about that the objective of business is not to hit those milestones quarter after quarter after quarter. It's really to just keep playing the game, to be in business for a long period of time. That is that is the goal of business, is just keep having business. And he does talk about being in business is tying together what's right for the customers, what's right for the workers, and what's right for the shareholders. The problem that we have today is that most businesses are so focused on the shareholders that the workers and the customers suffer from that. Now, the gentleman I'm considering, and the reason they're on the considering list is I haven't seen enough of their posting to understand, first off, one of the, I guess I should step back here. Things that I'm looking for in the posting to figure if I should follow them. Lots of text. I have a hard time with video because it's disruptive. You got to listen to it. With text, I can read it very quickly. Not a lot of promotion. Some people promote a lot. I think I'm probably in that boat right now, but I'm trying to get out of that and just kind of either retweet or tweet more informational stuff for people, because that's how I started on Twitter. And then thought-provoking. I think that's what I'm looking for. And these people I'm considering, I haven't seen enough of their tweets to know if they're going to meet that criteria or not. So, but the second person on this list is Michael Bungay Stainer. I connected with him, and there's a lot of people on this list I've connected with because of Brene Brown's podcast. He was on her podcast. He's an author of 2 books, The Coaching Habit and The Advice Trap. He also lives in Toronto. So one of these days, maybe I'll get a chance to meet him. And to summarize, both The Coaching Habit and The Advice Trap are focused more on asking questions versus jumping in for advice and delaying that advice as long as possible. So I really like that idea. I love questions. I mean, even when I write, it's funny sometimes when I write, I'll just be writing and I'll write a question that's just noodling in my mind, and then I'll allow myself to answer that question. That works for me because it helps me get through something. So I'll be writing something and then question will come out of that and I'll answer that question, and it helps me focus in and figure out where I need to go. So I like that, asking more questions. Another person that I'm considering is Justin Baldoni. I think I got his name right. I don't know. He's an actor from Jane the Virgin, and 5 Feet Apart. He's recently released a book called Man Enough. I haven't read it yet. A friend of me shared a YouTube video with him talking about Man Enough, and when I listened to the video, I said, man, that's what I am going through and trying to become a man of the 21st century. So I haven't seen a lot of tweets from him. So that's why he's on the list. Another gentleman, Jeff Brown, he's an author of several books. Geez, I can't remember how many he has. I have a couple of them. Most of the posts he does is on Facebook, so he may not make the list only because he doesn't post on Twitter. But the other thing is he lives near me, and I met him. Okay, so I really like the guy. He's down to earth, and yeah, that's why he's on the list. But I haven't seen any posts from him on Twitter, so maybe that isn't the platform for him. The next gentleman on my list is Lewis Howes. He's a former pro athlete. He wrote the book, The Mask of Masculinity, and I really enjoyed that book. It was very good. He's also a podcast host. I used to listen to his podcast, but what I found was it was just too many different shows, and I wasn't into all the shows, and it was all in one podcast, so I kind of dropped him for a little bit. And again, I just don't know how much he posts on Twitter, and I know that he does a lot on Instagram. Again, another platform. Jay Shetty is another guy, another person that I'm looking to follow. He's the author of Be Like a Monk, and I like that book. Haven't seen a lot of posts from him on Twitter, so he may end up coming off the list. I don't know. We'll see. Jim Collins, he's an author of Good to Great for BE 2.0. He's another one of these men that I connected with through an interview he had with Brene Brown. I'm currently listening to BE 2.0. It's very good. It's about leadership, and it's a mix between the original version, Beyond Entrepreneurship, and a add-on that Jim did to update it to a 2020 version. So it's interesting to listen to two different readers, one for the old version and Jim for the updated version. The next one is Nick Ortner, and he's the author of The Tapping Solution. So if you've ever heard of tapping, where you tap on meridians on your body to help you release energy, I have followed him and his sister. Haven't seen a lot of posts from Nick, and we'll see. We'll see where he falls on this list. Another one that the other person is Panache Dasani, and I connected with him through a friend of mine, Andy Grant, who I should maybe consider putting on this list. I don't know why I didn't, but Andy's a good friend of mine, and he said, "Hey, you got to check out Panache Dasani." And Panache started doing daily meditations, kind of similar to what I did with Morning Calm, except he's continued to do them every day, and then he adds some other programs around that. He has a book, You Are Enough, which I picked up early on in COVID, and that's a very good book. It's talking about how you as a person are just you're enough, and it was a very quick read. So the final two who are on the list just because they're cool. First off is Richard Branson. Just an interesting fellow. Not sure if I'll keep him on there or not. I don't know. And finally, Barack Obama. Just fascinating guy. I've listened to several interviews with him since he left office. It's an interesting conversation that he and Bruce Springsteen have. They have a podcast they're doing to, talk about their different lives and how they grew up differently. And the topics that they have are very interesting. So, again, not sure if they're going to make the top 10 or not. Many of these people on these being considered are there mainly because I haven't seen enough from them to know if they should be on the list or not. The final one, and this is you missed the list, is Andrew Yang. And I talked a bit about him in episode 20, The Deficit Myth, when I talked about universal basic income. And I, loved his book where he talked about that and laid it out. It wasn't about can't remember the name of his book, but it wasn't about, the whole thing wasn't about universal basic income, but loved his book, scared me a little bit. But his argument for universal basic income and how to implement it was very good. I enjoyed that. The reason he's missing the list is right now he's running for the mayor of New York City. And, excuse me, mostly all the posts that he has right now are based on something to do with his campaign. So it's not causing me to think, or it's just like, oh, the New York City, okay, I don't care. Oh, you just got this, don't care. Okay, all right. So that's the people that either are on the list or I'm considering to be on the list. So if you have some men that you're following that you think I should consider, and just let me go back and think about it. Thought provoking. I feel they're putting themselves out there. They're not just making up stuff. Truthful. And man, I guess those are that's probably the four criteria right now. People that are going to get me to think, to get me to say, and to, yeah. So if you have some people, let me know. Let me know who you think I should be following. I'm looking at building this list, trying to comment on and tweet a bit more, and we'll go from there. Let me know your comments. I thank you for joining me tonight on Live Life with Sean. If you'd like to book a coaching session with me, just go to my website, SeanCHiggins.com, and go to the Connect with Sean page. And if you enjoy this show, please share it, subscribe to it, like it, and or leave a comment or question. This will help others find this podcast. I really appreciate you joining me here tonight. And until next time, have a wonderful week.